So question for you, what would you do if you literally got to spend a breakfast with Robert Kiyosaki? What would you ask him? What would you talk about? Well, I had the privilege of doing that just today. Literally this morning, you just met Douglas, and him and I and Veronica had the privilege of having breakfast with Robert. And it was so interesting because it's not an event, there's not thousands of people around, there's not even 10 people around. It was literally just the four of us sitting at a table having breakfast. And he was explaining how concerned he is about the world and where the world is going. And this is a time in history that we've never seen before. And he was talking about what needs to happen. Now, what I find so interesting is that this is all that he talks about, all that he reads about. He's talking, he's reading books at the moment. I mean, the man is in his late 70s. And what is he reading about? Well, he's reading about the printed money at the moment. He's reading about he talks about the crash that's coming. He said he's been talking about it for a long time, but now it is as close as ever. And then he talks about what to do with it. And he talks about how you should be getting into commodities, into gold, silver, and crypto. I asked him about real estate, and he said, well, it depends. You know, because we were here in Nassau in the Bahamas, and about 15,000 tourists turn up every day. And he turned to the real estate and he said, look, the problem is that this real estate, if you bought it and the world fell apart, you're going to have no tourists, and then this real estate will fall apart. So he said it depends in terms of what type of real estate, what type of debt structure do you have on the real estate in terms of the process. But the most important essence upon which he was talking about was also the change of culture, and how there's this whole change of culture between the younger generation and the lack of ability to understand money and to really understand what an investment is and how to participate in an investment, and how important that is, because the baby boomers haven't learned it, they haven't been able to teach their children, and it's this financial education and financial literacy which is going to be so critical. What's interesting to me is that when you talk to these different people and these different experts, it's not really a case of if it's going to happen, it's a case of when it's going to happen. You know, today, this afternoon, we ran an exercise for 2 hours where we bartered, and we played a whole game of bartering, where it was basically capitalism without commerce. And the whole idea was you're not allowed to use US dollars, but it was like, what could you barter, what could you trade? And it was teaching people the value of bartering, because that's an old world skill that we used to have that everyone has forgotten. Now, going back to the breakfast with Robert, one of the things I love about it, and I had the same privilege with Richard Branson, is it's not all about business. We were talking about rugby, we were talking about how he was a prop, and how rugby actually enabled him to make friends all over the world. We spoke about why he became a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and how he actually signed up and he didn't want to miss out. We spoke about how he never jumped out of the plane, but the helicopter crashed 3 times. And what else did we talk about? There were some cultural issues around, where, and it's something that, I feel quite strongly about, where men have become quite weak around the world, and, women they want strong men, but men are becoming weaker and weaker. And it's like, what do you do about it? I'm part of Mankind Project, as an example, which is all about empowering men in an authentic way within their masculinity, but to be able to be strong and vulnerable at the same time. And all of these concepts, because they all actually come together, and I just find it the most fascinating conversations to be able to sit and to dialogue and to see. But I think the point that I want to impress upon you as we finish off today, and I hope the wind hasn't been too bad, is that when we finished and we went off to Nassau to go and be tourists and to go check out the pirates, this is where the Pirates of the Caribbean was filmed, Robert went back to his room to read books and to write books. So he's reading, he's learning, and he's writing his next book. And I find that absolutely fascinating in terms of that insatiable thirst for knowledge in terms of where we're at. So that's my daily recap for today. It's short and sweet. We were in port today, so we had quite a big tourist day. I've been doing a lot of work outside of it, but other than having a very privileged breakfast with him this morning and then doing the bartering exercise this afternoon, which, by the way, I learned some massive lessons in terms of that too, and the opportunity within the bartering system. And then tomorrow we got another full day, so you'll be having a full day of insights. But I finished with the question: if you were able to have breakfast with Robert Kiyosaki, what would you be able to do? And I've got the privilege of spending the rest of the week with him. You just met Douglas and Veronica, they're close with him, so we tend to have breakfasts most days, just us. And I'll leave you with one tiny thought, or two actually. One is, if you enjoy this channel, subscribe to it and share it with a friend. The last one is that there's this story of a red paperclip, and the guy wanted to trade a red paperclip for a house. And it's a true life story. And he traded a red paper clip, and he traded until he finally traded it for a house. It's actually a TED talk, and I'll put the link below. You can watch it. And what's interesting is that we've started off with a pen. I don't have it here, but it's just a normal real estate guy's pen. Now, I have the privilege of being with Robert Kiyosaki. Bought his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I could get him to take that pen and to write you a description in the pen, in the book, to you and your name, and I could take a picture with him, the book. It would be your book and your pen. And the question is, what would you barter for that? I can tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a hunting trip in South Africa because Robert loves hunting. And so what I would like to say to him is, hey, Robert, would you sign this book and pen? And in return, the next time you're out in South Africa, I'm going to organize a 2 to 3 day hunting trip for you. So, putting it out to the community. If you want to have breakfast with Robert Kiyosaki, help me find a way for him to go hunting. Cheers.